video on the Telecaster project. Wanted to kind of do this just to wrap up with you guys, let you know my experience, how it went, my advice, if I were doing it again, what I would do differently, and so forth. For starters, I have to say that working with Warmoth, I think, was a really good choice. I think the quality of the neck and the body are exceptional. The neck feels wonderful. Had to do minor fret work, and really the frets probably above the 12th fret or below the 12th fret, depending on how you look at it, were really in good shape. Up here I had a few that needed some minor leveling, but for the most part, you know, the frets were 90% good when I got this, which was really nice. Had to do a little bit of work on the fret edges to dress them up so they weren't so violent when you played it, but other than that, I think it was really great. I think the body was really solid. It was done really well. You know, there were a couple of imperfections. There's a spot here on the front you can tell they filled. There was like a stain in this area that I never could get out when I was sanding the body. But you know, other than a few little marks here and there, I think it's great. I think it's really good quality. Got some notes here, so don't forget. Tuning keys next, and these are the Goto vintage knockoffs, if you will. And I think I mentioned in my first video, I was thinking I was getting locking, but I got the wrong ones, and these are actually more like a true vintage. And I've always been curious about the ones where the strings go down in the hole. I like how neat that is. My friend's got a Telecaster with a few of those in it, and I've always thought those looked pretty good. Stringing them up was a bit of a pain in the ass. I figured out that you had to, I had to put a toothpick in them to hold the string in so I could crank it, because you have to hold the string tight with one hand and use the winder on the other, and I needed another hand to hold that string in. So I found that by using a toothpick worked pretty well. I just gently put it in there, cranked it, and that tended to work pretty well. These machines are a little bit tight. I'm not sure if the vintage ones are that way or not, if they're trying to be faithful to the reproduction. But on my other guitars, I think I have Grovers on those, and they're so much smoother. I mean, they're silky smooth to turn. These are pretty snug. These you got to kind of crank a little bit. The good thing is I don't think I have to worry about knocking them out of tune. I think it'll be pretty good. Also, a lesson learned was this little hole was deeper than I thought it was. So I strung the low E first, and I measured, you know, 2 pegs past. One little bit past because I knew I had to stick some in, cut it. When I stuck it in, it was like, holy cow, it went down like 3/4 of an inch. So I barely got, you know, I've got a good wrap around this, but that's about it. So the others I left longer so I could get at least 2 or 3 wraps on it. So a little lesson there, you know, go out 3 tuning pegs if you're going to use these. Make sure you have enough room. But other than that, it worked pretty well. The nut seems to be at a good height there. No complaints there. I really thought might have to do a little nut work. I thought the cuts might be too short, too shallow, and have a lot of high string action on the first fret. Not at all. I mean, this thing is dead nuts on as far as I'm concerned. I imagine a luthier or somebody, you know, that would get on here and measure it would probably maybe take issue with that. But as far as I'm concerned, compared to all my other guitars, it's extremely playable right now, straight out of the box. So again, kudos to Warmoth for that. The pickups, these DiMarzio pickups. Wow, I don't know what to say. These are so much different than what I'm used to, and I expected that. I mean, it's a Tele, and this thing sounds like a Tele. I mean, when you're just sitting there playing it acoustically, it sounds like any other normal guitar would. But you play it through, you know, I've got a Marshall combo, and I'll maybe do a video on that here coming up. And I tried playing it on, you know, the low input side, clean. And, you know, it sounded like Brad Paisley. I don't sound like Brad Paisley, but the guitar, you know, it's got that super clean, clear Tele tone that you hear in country music. I put it on the grungy side, gain up to 10, and played it. And it still rocks, it still distorts out, but it's got that unmistakable Tele thinness to it, or what I consider Tele thinness. But yeah, this 615 in the bridge is bright. It's everything they advertised. I kind of wonder if I shouldn't have gone with the area hot tea, but you know, you never really know. You don't know on these things. If I'd have put the hot tea in, I might be saying, oh, I wish I would have got something more bitey like the 615. But the front pickup sounds great. It sounds like a Tele would. And again, they're completely noiseless. I shielded the cavities. You don't need to with humbuckers, but I did it anyway because I never know what I'm going to be doing in the future. So I went ahead and shielded them while I had it all apart. So if I ever put single coils in it or whatever down the road, it'll be done. So I'll have that. The wiring, I am not a very good wiring person. I'm smart enough to know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not talented enough to pull it off. So the wiring diagram was very simple on this, much more simple than on my other guitars. And somehow I still managed to screw it up to where the tone knob doesn't work. So I basically have 2 volume knobs now, so I don't know what I did. I've gone over that wiring diagram I don't know how many times, so I don't know if I have a bad pot. If I ruin the pot, I don't know what exactly happened. But my tone circuit doesn't work, so that's going to be a project for another day. But you know, volume works fine. 3-way controls work just fine. Going back to the pickups, there are definitely 3 distinct tones between the neck, both, and the bridge. So you know, it's fantastic. I love that aspect of it. While I'm talking about the pots, I really do like the pots. I had mentioned before, I think in my first video, about the YJM pot on the front, the high-speed volume pot that my brother told me to get. When it's all put together, assembled with a knob on it, it feels amazing. It's very smooth, very quick. So yeah, my reservations about that were totally unfounded. That feels like a great pot. Also, this electrostatic jack socket, I love the way I didn't put the nut on the outside, so it's like a funnel, and it does. I mean, your cord just goes straight into it. So I really like that. I like the way it was. I had to do some filing on the body to get this to fit flush. It wouldn't fit flush. It still doesn't. It sticks up a hair in the back. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you know, I mean, it's as good as I could get it without really getting into the body much more than I did. I didn't want to totally bury that. And I think the finish built up a little bit and kept it from going as low as it was when I had it dry fit. I really like the Fender strap locks. They work really well, solid, they clip on, they go on really easy, and feels really good. Clear coats, the finishing. So you guys saw I used the rattle can on the headstock, and I think it was just your regular Krylon or whatever that I picked up at the store, the clear acrylic, and he tell you now, never use that stuff. That stuff is a disaster. This headstock is still soft, so if I mash it with my finger, I will leave a fingerprint in the headstock. There's still cloth prints in it from, I had a towel underneath it when we were putting the tuning machines on. I mean, a towel should not leave an imprint in the clear coat, but the thing is that that imprint will be gone in 2 or 3 days. The paint is still soft, it's still moving. So, you know, you can take your finger and put a little nick in it, and it'll be gone the next day. But, I mean, what the heck? It's been 3 weeks now since I applied this stuff, and it's still soft. So, you know, my friend Greg, we talked about this, and he's got his own project right now. And one of the things I discussed with him is when he's ready to shoot clear on his guitar, let me know. I'll yank the neck off, pull all the tuning keys off, and have him shoot it in automotive clear. I'm hoping, you know, in 2 or 3 months it'll finally have set up enough to where we don't have to sand it all off and start over. Hopefully it'll be on here and be firm, but we're definitely going to have to redo the headstock. So, you know, my advice, unless you have 3 months to wait for the stuff to cure, and I don't even know if that'll do it, stay away from the stuff. I don't know, if I'd probably been better off trying to find something at an automotive store. Maybe they would have something that they could at least tell me how long to let it cure. I mean, it's wet sanded down fine. It polished up pretty well. Looked good and shiny, but it's still not finished curing. And last, the true oil on the body. The true oil on the body, in hindsight, all having said and done, is it worked pretty much like they said it would. I will tell you, I had a lot of anxious moments going through this. It took so many more coats than I thought it would. it seemed like it was much more difficult to build up coats and actually get the grain to where it would stop soaking it up. You guys, you've seen the videos, you know how much I put on there. I think I put 16 coats on, and most of it we wound up sanding back off. We also did get into, some of the edges. We caught edges when we were buffing it out. I think that's kind of unavoidable. So I don't know, I may go back and rub a little bit of True Oil on those spots just to protect them, to seal them up. And I can't overemphasize, how much I appreciate what Greg Porter did for me in polishing up this body. The day before, or the day I went over there the first time to have him polish it out, I pretty much resigned myself to the fact that it was all going to have to come back off, be refinished. And the reason for that was, even after I got it wet sanded and I had the little turtle wax rubbing compound, that I would pick an area and I would rub the daylights out of it. I was picking like these areas in the front, and I would do a small area in the front, and I would hit it with the polish, and it still didn't shine. It had a haze to it. And I thought, this True Oil isn't going to work. It isn't going to be what I thought it was. But going over there, using a proper tool, using a higher automotive grade of compound and polish, it worked miracles on this. I really couldn't believe how much he was able to get this to shine. So, I know that now, and I probably wouldn't be as freaked out going through the process. I would probably go ahead and invest in some better tools if I were going to do another one of these, because I don't think that's that much money for that buffer and the compounds. So I would probably invest in that myself. But truth be told, I might actually invest in a spray gun and try spraying automotive lacquer on it. Just the fact that you're getting that hard, durable shine. It's a known quantity. You know when it's going to set up, how it's going to set up, how it's going to finish. That might just be the way to go in hindsight. But no, I'm really, really pleased with how the body turned out. It dyed well. It shined well. So, again, no complaints. It just takes a long time. I spent a good month on this body, at least that long. I think I started in February, towards the end of February. I think it was probably around the 24th that my gear showed up, my body and everything showed up from Warmoth. And that's when I got started, was that following weekend. So yeah, it was probably end of February, 1st of March when I started dyeing the body. And here we are, April 22nd. So yeah, it was close to a good solid 2 months to get this thing dyed, get a finish built up, wet sanded back down, and polished out. So it's a long, slow process. Again, if you have the patience and you don't want to take on spraying a spray job, definitely do that. I would certainly use the True Oil again over rattle can. That was a big lesson learned in using that stuff. But definitely I see, certainly why the professionals do what they do, both in terms of speed and in terms of finish quality. Although that having been said, I really cannot fault the finish of this. I think it really turned out better than I would have expected. So anyway, I will close this video up now, but I wanted you guys all to get a look at it, get my closing thoughts. Oh, one other thing. I've had a number of folks ask me about the cost of this. So I'll just kind of give you a quick rundown. All told, in what I'm holding here in my hands is about $800. So I think it was $175 for the body. I think the neck with the nut installed was $185, round numbers. The pickups, there's a star, an asterisk by the pickups. I got them for $65, $70 in that neighborhood. DiMarzio had a price increase after I got these ordered, where the pickups are $80 a piece now. So yeah, you drop $200 in pickups. Bridge, $25, $30 I think it was. Pots were $10 a piece. Tuning machines were $35 I think, round numbers. Strap locks, all the finish, and that's what it was. I think I probably have maybe $70 in finishing material, so it's not a lot in the dye and the True Oil, and all the compounds I bought and didn't use, and the sandpapers and steel wool and everything else. The neck it just received True Oil and steel wool, so it's got a very natural, still has a rough feel. The fingerboard still has a little bit to go before it smooths out. I can still feel in places where you know, there may be a little bit of oil buildup that hasn't rubbed out, but I'm sure, you know, after playing this for a month, that'll all be gone. So anyway, the project is done for all intents and purposes. I love the guitar. It's everything I thought it would be. I don't think for $800 I could walk into a music store and walk out with what I have here. I think the quality is far better. I think being able to pick all your own components is awesome. Again, I don't think that you would get noiseless pickups and everything in a Seymour Duncan pots and everything in a $800 Fender. I think, you know, you're probably looking at you know, an American Deluxe, which is, you know, $1,600 to get this. Oh yeah, and I do have a tweed case that ran me about another $75. So that you would get if you spent the $1,600 in a store. So anyway, I think that's all I have for this. Just a final look at this, and you know, appreciate all of you that checked it out. Appreciate your comments. If there's anything you'd like to know, be certainly happy to answer. And hopefully I'll get some more videos posted in the future, let you guys hear how this sounds. But it's, you know, it's all country, I can tell you that. It's all telly. It's got the quacks and the twanginess and everything you would expect it to have. So it's really going to be a fun guitar, and I'm looking forward to years of enjoyment out of this. So again, thanks to everybody for checking in. Thanks to Greg for all his help, and we'll